I am living in Belarus, and Belarus is an interesting country because it's so hidden, so sheltered from the rest of the world, and very few people even really know that it exists, which is quite sad. So what I want to do is I want to compare the living standards in Belarus to, say, a Western country such as America. And I want to include things like prices and taxes so I can give you a really accurate idea of what the difference is in living standards between, say, here and the United States of America. So here in Belarus, we quote salaries monthly, and we quote them in US dollars, and we quote them after tax. So it's what you receive, not your gross amount, including the tax that you have to pay in the future. So here, for a typical job, you're looking at between 300 and 500 US dollars per month. Now, to gross that up and include the tax and social security levy that you have to pay, you're looking at around 500 to 800 US per month. There's a lot of variation. Actually, there's not that much variation, but there's a lot of variation with certain glamour professions where you can earn like 10x that. I'll come back to that in a little bit. But for the normal person, not wanting to take any kind of risks or do anything kind of market orientated, just have a nice, safe job, 300 to 500, or as I say, 500 to 800 if you include the tax that is also paid. So if you look at maybe a slightly better job, say an accountant or something, some basic kind of professional job, they're getting, say, 800 per month gross, or 500 clear, which is what they think they're getting. And times that out by 12, you're looking at around 10,000 US dollars in 1 year. Let's compare that to an American accountant, and I'm assuming obviously a degree and maybe 4 or 5 years experience, okay firm, mid-sized firm, nothing special, nothing too suburban. So in America, maybe they might earn, say, 80,000. Yeah, you can make an argument it's 50, you can make an argument it's 100. Let's just have a round number and say 80. So in dollar terms, before tax, Americans earn around 8 times more than Belarusians. That's pretty reasonable, I think. Now, the tax levels between the two countries are actually pretty comparable. They're just difficult to calculate because in America, you have so many layers and types of taxes. For example, with your income tax, you're paying tax to the country, the state, and sometimes the city. So you have 3 different income taxes. Like, I don't think any country in the world does that apart from America. Now, in Belarus, you have a low tax rate. I think it's around 13%. Well, it depends what you're paying tax on. I assume your labor, your time, your work time. But you also have to pay the social security levy, which is like, I think, 28 or 30%. So taxes in both countries end up roughly the same. I'm not going to nitpick and look at 3 decimal points, right? So the main difference here is the prices. And I would say that in America, I'm trying to compare big city to big city. Because I'm in Minsk, which is a capital, although it's not super big. So I'm trying to compare to not quite New York, but a large city. I would say prices in America are around 3 times higher. This is pre-sanctions, by the way, pre-war and pre-sanctions, even pre-COVID. All of this stuff that's messed with the supply chains around the world and changed all the prices, probably triple the price. In America, maybe a bit less, a little bit less, maybe 2.5 times, 3 times the price in America. So what does that mean? It means that the real incomes in America are somewhere between 2.5 and 3 times higher than they are in Belarus. So if you're in Belarus and you're earning 500 clear per month in a decent professional job, you need to multiply your income by about 2.5 times or up to 3 times, and that's how much you would be able to buy if you lived in America. So if you're living in Belarus now and you get 500, imagine you get 1,300 or 1,400. And that's exactly what it would be like living in America. And for Americans who are on 80 grand gross salary, do the same thing in reverse. So pretend that you would be earning maybe 30,000, say. So if you're earning 30,000, but in America, in your same position, town, life, everything's the same, that's what it would be like living in Belarus. I want to add a couple of things here because it turns out I'm actually an economist. Can you imagine? So I want to add a couple of things here to make this all a bit more realistic, especially if you're a Belarusian, because Belarusians really act like they're hard done by. And look, it's a bit of a Slavic thing to always concentrate on the negative and ignore the positive. But I want to say a couple of things on this. If you are a Belarusian watching this, do remember that you compare yourself all the time to America, or at least your perception of America. And of course, Belarus is a mid-level country. It's a mid-income level country. So you're ahead of a lot of countries are ahead of you. So it's not actually that bad here. It's just when you compare yourself to the richest out of 200 and something countries, you're not going to look good, right? That's kind of obvious. Also, do remember that you're not going to catch America. Like, it's not possible because America's also growing as you're growing. But I'll tell you something, since the 1990s, poorer countries like Belarus, Russia's a very good example, places like Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, you name it, as long as there's been some kind of political stability in the country and not some massive natural disaster or famine, these countries have grown quickly, much faster than the West. So I just said that if you're Belarusian and you want to know what it's like to live in America, that you need to multiply your income by 2.5 or 3 times. Well, if you go back to the 1990s, that number was more like 4 or 5 times. So although America keeps getting richer slightly, because at the end their economy is not that fast, growing that fast, neither is Australia's, neither is Germany's. We're just kind of plodding along, small productivity gains. If you go back to the 1990s, the gap would be 4 or 5 times. So these poorer countries or mid-tier countries like Thailand or here in Belarus, you're actually a lot better off than you were a generation ago, and you know that as well. You look at your parents, your grandparents, your life's a lot better. You got a lot more stuff and a lot easier life. You're not out in the village picking up potatoes all day. I was speaking to a Russian lady I know who lives here in Minsk, and she was saying probably about the mid-2000s, so around 2005, 2007, that's when she first had the experience of having extra income. So up until then, it was always a struggle, just surviving. What we've got our $20 for the week food budget. What do we buy? What do we don't buy? Really being price focused. And she's saying probably the last 15 years, it's kind of changed. And now if you get a better job and you're more productive, you're actually able to save some money, buy some assets, go on holidays, buy nicer things, have a car, this kind of stuff. I had finished this video, then I thought of something else. Now, in Australia and America and so forth, yes, the real incomes are a lot higher. You're going to be able to buy more things, as we've just discussed. But people still complain about not having enough money. And a lot of people have no savings. So in Australia, for example, around 40% of people have no savings. They have no extra income. They spend all their money and have nothing. So, and also when you look at things like reasons for divorce, again, the number one reason is money issues, arguing over what to spend the money on. So it's not as if people in the West are necessarily super rich. And what does happen, of course, as well, is that people tend to just be lazy with their spending and just, so they spend more they don't need to, and they're not very careful with money and then run out of money, and money budgeting skills are not very good, right? But if you look at your babushka, she can manage that budget really well, and it's a skill often that young Western people don't really have. So they don't really get the full benefit of having a much higher income.